Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're still on the press, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. And of course, with us joining us on the program is Kola Alapinni, international human rights lawyer. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
It's good to see you once again.
Pleasure to always be here.
And of course, it looks like today is a perfect day to, of course, have you in the studio with us, given what is going on in Nigeria right now. You'd agree with me?
Well, every day there's a new story.
There's a new story. Okay, let's take.
Always wake up to pleasant surprises.
But today's one doesn't appear to be a surprise. Actually, it looks like Nigerians have been preparing for this day. I like to take it from how the Punch said it. Presidential poll: heavy security as tribunal decides Atiku Obi's petitions against Tinubu. Police block entrance to court. Appeal warn politicians against violence. 5 justices decide Atiku Obi's petitions today. Security agents patrol Abuja. First off, do you actually think security should patrol just Abuja, or actually the all 36 states, given the level of insecurity or security we should protect Nigerians at all costs right now, because it's not just an Abuja thing. And then secondly, to the tribunal itself, I'd like to get your overview on that.
Okay, I'll take the second one first.
Okay, all right.
Okay. I think a lot of people are, anxious, anxiously awaiting the judgments of my lords, and rightly so. It seems as if the last elections had a high level of participation.
Yes.
There was also a high level of expectation.
That's correct.
Whether Professor Yakubu delivered or not, it's today we're going to find out. Okay, because here was a man who had gone on air, talked about the IRF, talked about this and that, assured the international community, and everything fell down like a pack of cards. So that was a huge disappointment. And there were voter intimidation from clips we had seen, and some of the votes went very well in some quarters. In some quarters went well, in some quarters there were no voting, in some quarters it was marred with thuggery, threats, intimidation. We saw what MC Oluoma was doing in Lagos, and etc., etc. So today is Judgment Day.
Judgment Day.
And who is on judgment today itself? It appears it will be my lords. because
we've had the eyes on
today,
judiciary.
Like I said yesterday, I don't support the eyes on judiciary thing. I think that's concept of court. But today, my lords themselves are going to appear in the court of public opinion. Today, we're going
you see, whether you like it or not, that's still another way to see the eyes on judiciary, because all eyes are on them.
Yeah, but it's the way it's being sponsored, with billboards, and it's from a certain quarters of one of the parties that lost the election, and that is what has marred what is going on. So it seems like it's intimidation. It seems like you're trying to coerce the court, and it is plain and simple contempt of court. Ordinarily, in a climate where everything works, those people who put up the billboards and everything will have been arrested and brought before the courts to explain why they should not face contempt of court charges. I suppose the courts didn't want to fan up the embers and they just let it slide. But more importantly, what I'm trying to say is that today, the judges themselves would be on the scoreboard. They would get their results today from the court of public opinion, because now, justice must not only be seen to be done, but it must be seen to be manifestly done. Okay? So the ordinary man on the street will be able to say, I think this is a fair judgment. I think this is fair reasoning. I think they did well here or there and everything. It goes beyond the presidential aspirants or the contestants who have gone to court. The people who will decide the judgment itself, they themselves will be scored today. So I think that's the take home.
Okay, that brings me to my next question. There's been the battle of there is no respect for rule of law in Nigeria. Do you affirm to that?
I agree with you completely. What is Bauer doing in detention? Idris Bauer, or isn't that his name? What's his name?
Yes, the FCC boss, Abdurrashid Bauer.
Idris Bauer is my friend. Abdurashid Bauer, without being charged to court and everything, why did Emefiele go to the court and secured an injunction and you're still arresting him? Why are you, security operatives tearing each other's shirts? Is that the rule of law and all that? You would never see that kind of thing happen in the United Kingdom, who used to be our colonial masters, where we got all these copies of laws from and everything. Okay. So, I mean, of course, it clearly shows that, we don't follow the rule of law. We don't follow due process. It's only when it is in the interest of government or anything that you say these things work, clockwork. And it's a huge shame, because the judiciary should be the last hope of the common man, as I say. And the agents of the judiciary that work hand in hand, the police, the investigating bodies, the prosecution bodies, there should be a synchronization of all these agencies. And once this has been truncated, we're going to have this animalistic society which we
do you look forward to seeing actually a time where we would actually have the respect for the rule of law? Maybe someday, one day.
I hope so. This all has to do with a geographical space called Nigeria. Okay, we get to the airport, we're fighting, we're jumping queues and everything. The average Nigerian, once he crosses to the other side and gets there, he knows he has to behave himself. Because he doesn't behave himself, he's going to the gallows. It works effectively.
Yeah,
so that's it.
But when we return back to Nigeria,
immediately from the plane, as you're getting off, people are scrambling and all. So I hope, we will be able to get these things right.
Okay, right. Before we move on, I'd like to tell our viewers that our phone lines are on. Of course, you're taking your calls and your contributions in 60 seconds. So do want to call. And now let's move away from that, because I don't like us to flog that issue too much, since there's going to be a live broadcast very soon. Let's take one of what Vanguard newspaper said this morning. Vanguard newspaper. I like our MCR people to put it on the screen. Our founding fathers won independence, failed to build a nation. I'd like to read again. Our founding fathers won independence, failed to build a nation. That's coming from former President Jonathan. And don't you think that's rich, coming from a former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
Well, I think it's only reiterating what we've always known. Any student of modern history, contemporary Nigerian history, civics, government, I don't know if they still do these courses and the subjects, so to speak, in secondary school or primary school. We knew that the Nigeria, the pre-60s Nigeria, which our founding fathers got independence with, is very different from Nigeria of today. And that was why Chief Obafemi Awolowo famously said in one of the constitutional conferences I was in Parliament, and he said, Nigeria is just a mere geographic expression. It's just that was Chief Obafemi Awolowo's, what he said, and also the other regional leaders as well. The Sadana of Sokoto was always, it was a North First policy, and that's, you can see that carryover of the North First policy when Muhammadu Buhari was president, because he was a child of that era. He grew up in that era, and he came with that mentality and, destroyed everything that someone like Goodluck Jonathan had tried to put in place with a national flavor of cabinets and everything. Muhammadu Buhari was not first. If possible, Daura first. That was his mindset. So that was the politics of that era, where everybody was first their tribe or their ethnic minority, nationality, before they became Nigerian. And you don't blame them, because this is one of the most complex countries in the world. We speak over 400 languages, 250 ethnic tribes, and some people who were so-called world powers just picked up a pencil, sat over a map in Berlin, Germany in 1885, and just drew it up amongst themselves. This goes to the French, that goes to the Germans. Cameroon used to belong to the Germans, Northern Cameroon, that is. Southern Cameroon was English. But when the Germans lost the World War, Cameroon was taken away from them and given to the French. So Cameroon was spoils of war. So that's what happened. We had no say in the countries which they were forming. We were, you know, conquered territories.
Sorry to cut you short. Don't you think we've had ample time to actually fix things? I mean, Nigeria is over 60 years, and that's like a lot of time. A 60-year-old man right now should know his left from his right. Who are we to blame? Is he our leaders? Is he Nigerians?
Well, where there is injustice and when there's no equity and people don't feel that they belong or they feel they can aspire to be the best they can be in their country, where you have disgruntled elements, we would have a situation like we have in Nigeria, where merit doesn't count, where, you know, someone would score 2 and be able to get into Queen's College because they come from a certain part of the country, and someone who scores 150 is not able to get in there.
Okay.
So people would naturally feel disgruntled, and there's no level playing field, and those are the issues. Those are the issues. It goes to the deep root, you know, the deep root of this tree called Nigeria. So if we don't address these issues of equity, justice, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, respect and tolerance to one another, we would always face this debacle.
That means
it's the same thing. It's still happening now. You only need to go on Twitter or Facebook, and they say there's slurs and there's spews of abuse and anger towards each other, and we talk to the way we speak to each other, the way we regard each other. It's not here to hold.
Okay. That means we Nigerians, we have a lot to do, not just our government, because everybody keeps pushing majority of the blame on government and say, oh, it's the government's fault. Of course, the president is supposed to be #1 citizen of the country, the injustice and all of that. We need to have a
listening government.
Okay.
And when we had the last constitutional conference set up by Goodluck Jonathan administration, we refused to listen to what those people, they came together to discuss. We need to discuss. We need to talk. Even if you have domestic issues at home, man, woman, and everything, you need to be able to sit down and talk and say, hey, we have issues here. Our relationship is in trouble, or our marriage is in trouble. Which way do we go? Call it whatever name you want to call it. Therapy, discussions, and family meeting. You need to talk. You can't just behave as if nothing has happened and you just walk away. You're going to have a crisis, and that's why you see the incidence of spousal murder increasing. You know, you need to talk. If it's not working, it's not by force. You guys can
that's a case of spousal. But now let's relate that. I like the fact that you
just told you.
Okay.
If you just allow me to finish, you know, the example I gave you is a microcosm of the country.
Okay.
So you need to talk. Marriage is not by force. Forget what the religious institutions and everything tell you. And in any case, when they say what God has joined together, no man can put asunder, is a fallacy, is a pure lie. The courts will split you. If you've married in the church or married anywhere, if your marriage is in trouble and you decide you don't want anymore, the judge will split you and everybody will go their separate ways. So it's good to talk. It's good to engage. It's good to know if you want to go for therapy. In this case, therapy might be constitutional conference or, you know, let's talk about this issue. And if it's not working, we all know it's not working. And if it's going to work, we all know it's going to work. Okay? And this will eliminate all the issue of unknown gunmen or Nnamdi Kanus or the Igbos and everything. Government cannot just, you can't force people together if they're having issues and they have ideological differences. You must address those ideological differences. And people should be able to decide if they want to be together or not. And if they want to be together, they emerge a stronger union. And you address the fault lines and where things are skewed. And if they don't want to be together, for instance, Germany, after splitting, decided to come together because they felt they were better.
They were better together.
East and West Germany came together. At the same time, East and West Germany were coming together in 1990 or thereabouts. Czechoslovakia split into two. You had the Czechs go one side and the Slovaks go another side. The ones that refused to do it peacefully, Yugoslavians blew into smithereens. So we need to address, we can't just gloss over it. It's not going to go away. And you can see how exacerbated that was with the last elections. Because people became disgruntled if they are not able to effect a change.
And then in this case of marriage, I'd like to, of course, attach it to the Nigerian government. If Nigerians are saying, oh, we don't want again, and now we've seen what is happening in our neighboring countries, do you actually think splitting would be actually the solution right now if we as one Nigerian...
Well, I didn't advocate for splitting.
Okay.
I advocated for talks.
For talks,
okay.
Okay.
There should be discussions, and we cannot gloss over these things.
Okay.
But the problem is our government is not a listening government. And I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Okay, everybody is groaning under the rising costs of things and everything. And people in National Assembly are still giving themselves 2 million naira allowances, recess allowances. And we have allowances skyrocketing. How on earth would it cost about maybe 50,000 naira or 60,000 naira to fuel your car? And you have someone in government driving in the convoy of 17 cars, 15. How insensitive is that? So it shows that the people who are at the helms of affairs are not listening.
They're not listening. No. Okay, all right. Now let's take one more from one of the papers. Let's quickly talk about the strike. Of course, we cannot ignore the strike given what is going on in Abuja right now.
Did you
I was just going to ask you because you sound like you know when they say and darkness was upon the deep of the earth. In my head, I'm like, okay, maybe they will, because in my area they barely take the light. They seldom take light. And then I woke up and I just picked up my phone. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Then I just saw the news, breaking news about, we've joined the strike. Yes, and the let me not say crazy thing. The annoying thing is, this is actually handpicked. It feels like they're cherry picking. This particular state should have lights. It's not as if it's a general thing. That is what is even more annoying about this strike. Well,
in the case of NEPA, I like to call them NEPA because it's easy for me to identify
them.
The various whatever.
Okay.
In the case of NEPA, you know, they've been what's it called, commercialized.
Yes,
privatized.
Yeah, privatized.
So it all depends on the private entity that's joining the strike. So, in my area, they seldom take the lights too. We live very close to the official residence of the FCT minister, so it's a banded area where you always mostly have light, at least maybe 23, 22 hours a day. And we might even have light for like 4 days at a stretch. They don't take it. Okay, I can't believe we're celebrating that because this seems you have light, you have light.
You don't actually. Someone actually said it.
It should be constant.
It should be constant.
You know,
we feel like they are doing us a favor. Meanwhile, we say exactly.
So it should be constant. You know. Anyway, what I was going to say is that I lost track of what I was going to say.
Yeah, you're talking about the strike. Yes.
Yes. So, like I said, you didn't have lights yesterday. I didn't have lights. So I think the NEPA in Abuja did join the strike, and they sent a circular and told us not to expect any light until tomorrow. So, you know.
What happens if the strike decides to continue?
I'm not sure. I think it's a warning strike of 2 days. So we'll see how that goes, and hopefully the stuff we have in the fridge and freezers don't go bad before.
I feel like that's one of the problems. But then people are left to look, because I feel like there should have been should have been forewarned against all of these things. I mean, they didn't even give like a 24 hours notice or anything.
NLC already told us there was.
But then nobody took it serious. And then we still have some states where the banks are working, everything works perfectly fine. It depends on entities. Okay, now let's take some party issues. Well, I'm going to take 2 in 1, where APC's past rejection of 4 subsidy removal was political. That's coming from the past governor of Ekiti State, and it's surprising that it's coming from a past governor and one that is from APC itself. I remember there was the issue of Operation Occupy Nigeria. Then it was majority of the people in power right now that actually were at the forefront of most of these things. And now look at where we've got into in Nigeria, where fuel subsidy has been removed, and then it looks like it's never going to come back. Though we've seen some people try to, of course, try to mold it and make it seem nice and good and say, oh, whether we like it or not, whoever it was still going to happen at the end of the day. But then whether we like it or not, at the end of the day, it's still affecting Nigeria. And now this is a past governor coming out to openly say APC's past rejection of fuel subsidy removal was political. And remember, President Goodluck Jonathan actually even gave us an option. I take fuel subsidy, I put something to cushion the effects of this. But now we're left to nothing. What's your take on that?
Okay, first and foremost, if you've read Bolaji Abdullahi's book that he wrote on Lost on a Platter of Gold, which he wrote on the Goodluck Jonathan presidency. I think it's one of the most comprehensive books you can read on the Jonathan administration.
Okay.
I think the former president was led into a trap. Okay. Nobody disputes that the fuel subsidy has to go. It's been described as a scam.
This is a scam, yeah.
It's been described as being unsustainable, and I've said this several times, because we are the largest producer of oil in Africa, and we cannot refine, our oil and turn it to petroleum products. Then we send this local product abroad, and then we start buying with our forex, leaving us with nothing. So it's just like pouring water into a basket. The basket keeps leaking. It had to be plugged. Okay. The problem was Goodluck Jonathan fell into a trap, and he was not sensitive. People went home for Christmas, and on New Year's Day, you just say, subsidy is gone. Boom, just like that. You have a lot of our Eastern brothers and sisters who usually travel in huge convoys to the East. They were stuck. People were selling their wristwatches, their phones, their shoes to try to get back to
then people had spent a lot on Christmas.
Exactly. So it was a timing. It's always about timing and how you say these things. Nigerians are one of the most resilient people. We're also one of the most tolerant people. Our people have it. If you can keep engaging with Nigerians and our people, I like to call them our people instead of just labeling them as Nigerian, you can get away with blue murder. And that was what elongated the Babajide administration. Having highlighted this, when Goodluck Jonathan removed the subsidy, and you had all the Occupy Nigeria protests and all, and they said, they brought up various policies, P, they brought up buses, these are going to cushion. There were so many debates. Those debates ought to have occurred. You remember Okonjo Iweala,
yes.
Also Femfalana, everybody was on TV, and they were, they had this conference, and those talks should have taken place before the subsidy was abruptly removed. It's the same mistake this president has made. On the day of his inauguration, he just said, I'm going to remove the subsidy.
But do you actually think, I like the fact that you mentioned it, sorry to cut you short, do you actually think he meant it the way he said it that day? Or you just said it as per, I'm still testing powers?
No, he just said it. It's always been on his mind. There's nothing wrong with removing the subsidy. It's how you remove it, how you cushion the effect. That matters. The electricity, for instance, the electricity companies keep telling us it's subsidized, and they keep trying to sell it to us at the actual price of it. But the government knows that, see, after petrol, in fact, this electricity has more effect on the lives of people than petrol itself, because it comes to every home. There was a time where the tariffs were changed once. I used to charge with maybe like 10,000 naira for a month, and you can see the disparity. You charge 10,000 naira and it just goes in like 2 weeks, and you feel the difference. And the electricity companies are still trying to remove this subsidy and charge the exact amount at commercial rates, but the government knows that if they try that, there's going to be more trouble. So it was a timing for the Goodluck Jonathan administration. It's also the timing for President Bola Tinubu himself.
But I think I beg to differ when it comes to that, because the President Buhari's administration actually made provisions for subsidy, of course, provision from January to June, and then this was just May 29. So even if it said subsidy is gone, it shouldn't be with immediate effect.
Even if they removed it and they say they want to, and the president is not comfortable with it, all he has to do is go back to Parliament and apply for.
But then he didn't say anything about it.
He said
subsidy is gone.
I'm going to remove it.
I'm going to remove it. It's a continuous thing.
What it meant is that you have to realize that he was speaking Yoruba English. He was speaking Yoruba English.
Okay.
Mayo, I'm going to remove it. That's what he was trying to say. There's nothing you can do about it.
And with immediate effect, things happened.
That's what happened. The key point, which we mustn't lose focus, is the politicization of the removal of the subsidy, and the protests which Fayemi is talking about. So he said, I think we did wrong. We shouldn't actually have attacked Goodluck Jonathan the way we attacked it. We did it for political reasons. I think that is what
he's trying to say.
What we can take away from that, because how much was petrol? How much did it increase to under Goodluck Jonathan? It was maybe from 85 naira to 160 something. Are we not buying at 615 now? So we just give the, gentleman a very hard time. I'm not saying that Goodluck Jonathan was the best president. He seemed to me like a young person who donned his father's agbada, Babajide, Northerners call it, we call it agbada, and the agbada was drowning him. He was given power, and he didn't seem to know how to use power. He was a nice gentleman. His administration had a national outlook,
democracy was democracy.
Yes,
yeah?
He was a calm person and all, but he wasn't decisive when he should be decisive. And when he did become decisive, it was for the wrong reasons. For instance, how do you remove fuel subsidy on New Year's Day? That was New Year present, and that was why people were very angry. And the protests, just took over all of Nigeria. When he decided to show his military side, so to speak, his militant side, and then everybody scampered because all they did was just deploy armored personnel cars all the way to Ojota, Oshodi, and everybody ran away.
Okay, let's take some business news. Let's move through. I like to take the Punch. I don't know if you've been to Ebonyi, but I've been there once, and now we've got the Minister of Roads and Transport has said contractors, according to the Punch, they said contractors protest as federal government dumps asphalt for concrete roads. And that's
Minister of Works.
That's Minister of Works, yes. And now protesting because federal government has dumped asphalt for concrete roads. What does that mean for us in Nigeria? First off, even the roads we have right now, it lacks maintenance to start with. You and I would agree with that. What does this mean for Nigeria generally?
Well, I've driven on the concrete road before, twice.
Twice, okay.
The first was the Obajana Road.
Obajana, yes, okay.
Cement, and where you undertook to do this. And I think the second one was the Oshodi Bagada Express. I'm not sure what to make of the road. I'm used to asphalt because that's what I've always driven on, in over 30 years or so. I guess what the government is trying to do there is the economic and sustainability argument. So if the concrete roads are going to last longer. And if it's cheaper, well, then we're going to dump it for asphalt, which comes from petroleum products. Yes, because it's from bitumen and everything. So I wonder why maybe the transporters also feel the way I feel.
Because I was going to ask that it's where to drive, and then how comfortable is it to drive your car on the concrete?
Let me tell you something. Change is constant. And human beings are usually resistant to change when it first comes, and then eventually you get used to it. When we were growing up and learning how to drive, we learned with manual. We learned with manual, and if you don't know how to shift your gears and balance it, you'll be running away from all the hills in Ibadan. You'll be running away from all the hills.
And what if your gear doesn't even come into it?
You run away from all the hills, and that's how you know who is a learner driver and who is more. There was one hill in Yidi, in Gates, that Odi Road area. If you go and visit your friend Odi Road, you must avoid that hill because you're probably going to be slipping back, and you dare not go to cultural center. Kola, by the way, you have a very high hill there and all sorts. However, when the new generation cars, automatic cars, started flooding Nigeria. I'm talking, they widely came around 1993, with all the imports and everything flowing into Nigeria. People who were used to automatic cars, manual cars, couldn't even figure out how to drive an automatic. They used to call it a vehicle for disabled people. That was, in Yoruba they call it okwaro. And so you just put your foot on it, and and even my dad, when he got his first automatic vehicle, he struggled. This is a man who's been driving
for like it's easier than
for like 16 years or thereabouts, and he couldn't figure. Oh, you mean where do I put my left leg? Where is the clutch?
It's not three.
Dad, there's no clutch.
There's just one.
So he struggled to adjust with it, but now he drives it perfectly. Okay. So that's my analogy. Well, change is always constant. And human beings are usually resistant to change. We're stuck in our ways. But once we get a hang of it, if the concrete roads are going to last longer, and it doesn't destroy tires, and it's sustainable, and we have these deposits of the raw materials which the cement is being made with, if it's going to last, why not?
Why not?
The nightmare of driving on horrible roads, we'll rather exchange that for concrete roads than to be.
I can't remember where I drove. I think it was last week, and then I passed a pothole. I saw everybody, of course, maneuvering pothole, and I'm like, okay, I'll just slow down and just pass through. But by the time I saw the pothole, I said, no, this is not a pothole. This is a pot itself.
If you're not driving an SUV, and that's the reason why there's a proliferation of SUVs on our roads. It's the state of the road, so people want vehicles with higher clearance and bigger tires. Because you're driving a Corolla, you just you
dive into it. Okay, all right. Let's take one more. CBN declared $10 billion forex backlog in 2 weeks.
That's good news.
Okay.
If the CBN is able to do it, because this is one of the reasons why tickets are very expensive on the Nigerian routes, because the airlines say, "Oh, our money is trapped in your country. We can't get it.
We can't get it out."
We have to mark up the price. All you have to do is go to Benin Republic or go to Ghana, and you find out there's a huge differential
the difference
in the price.
Too much.
Say a Lagos-London ticket compared to a Lome London ticket or Cotonou London ticket or Accra London ticket. More importantly, this is one of the reasons why Emirates is not flying into Nigeria, because they're not able to repatriate their money back to the United Arab Emirates.
Okay.
So it has a bad influence. And at some point in time, even a major airline from the US, was it United or someone, stopped flying into Nigeria. They're back again now, but it shakes investor confidence. If they do business with you and they're not able to get their money on time, to run their business, everybody's going to run away from us because don't go there. The money's going to get trapped. So, if the CBN is able to do it, that's good news. Fantastic.
Okay, let's hope they get into that. I've been trying to look for one of the papers that states, have you ever tried to get your Nigerian passport, and what was the case for you?
Oh, I can tell you
one of the okay, you would tell me.
I can tell you a personal story.
Okay, before you get into that, the new Minister of Interior has enforced, and of course, he road riot last week. I think there was a video of him that went viral where he stated that why should we have to wait for months to actually get a passport? And these are not even outsiders, these are citizens. So now he has mandated that it should be gotten, passport issuance should be in 2 weeks. But then I'd like you to share your story, and how do you think 2 weeks is actually feasible in Nigeria now? Okay,
the first passport I ever got, I got in 1 day.
Because you know someone that knows someone that knows someone, or how many years back was this?
This was about this was in 2001.
Okay. Really, things I've never gotten this bad.
It was in, I think it was December 2000 or November 2000. Okay. And I got it in 1 day. I got it in Ibadan. There was less crowd and everything. Was walking, and it was smooth, breezy.
Okay.
The second passport, which I got it in the UK, and it was a nightmare.
Even for those in the UK.
Yes, it was a nightmare to get. So what you do, you pay everything online and all, but the harrowing experience of queuing at Nigeria House on Northumberland Avenue, even in the cold, they just keep you out there on the long line, and you have people flying in, you're taking the train from Scotland, from Wales, everybody has to come to London to come and get it.
And
then you're there in the cold and shivering. The attitude of the Nigerian officials, once you get there, you're in Nigeria. Once there is no change in the behavior, it's horrible. Sometimes they even call the police. They Because it's a highbrow area in central London,
Okay.
and then you have all the. So some people call the police and say, "Oh, lots of people on the streets and all." So the Metropolitan Police or the City of London Police are quite used to shenanigans at Nigerian House. Now, the third passport which I got it in Lagos, and it was the same thing. I knew someone and made a few calls and paid extra and got it. Okay. But you can see the experience with people who, being turned back. Oh, you don't have this, you've not filled it online and all that. The last one which I got recently, that was when Rauf Aregbesola
was Minister of Interior.
Yeah, and everything is online now. I just went in there, put my details, I paid the required sum. I wanted a 10-year validity passport, 64 pages, because I just couldn't be bothered with going to the immigration every time. All. So even though the last passport had a year to go on it, as soon as I heard that they had jackets and passports, jacket for the passports, I don't want any, because I knew I was going to be doing a lot of international travel, and you don't want to be stuck, because if your passport has less than 6 months validity, you will not be able to travel. So everything was done online. It was seamless. They give you a date. It's usually 3 weeks.
3 weeks,
and then you do it. But let's compare it to what happens internationally. Nigeria is not the only place where it's difficult to get a passport.
Okay.
In the United States, it takes almost 4 months or 5 months. You'll be shocked, except you want to pay extra. I don't know, because of holiday makers and everything. So they tell you to apply well on time. Even in the UK, it takes more than there's ease of filling out the forms. Just go to the post office and everything. They post it back to you. But all these post-COVID issues, there's a backlog. There's this. There's that. It's not only Nigeria where it is happening. I'm not saying that we cannot improve on our situation here. Nigerians are great travelers. We're everywhere. We love to travel. We need to remove the human. Anywhere you have money exchanging hands in Nigeria, they never want you to block that loophole. Okay, so we need to make it mechanical, or everything should be computerized. We need to make sure that money does not exchange hands. The only time where you may want to pay extra is if your date, say for instance, you do it online, they give you like 3 weeks to come, and you want to go quicker than 3 weeks. Yeah, you can say you can pay extra or whatever. Take it out of your hands. If you go to the immigration house here in Abuja, where near the airport, where I did my last passport, the show of shame, they've tried to reform it, and then you have the provost. There was a woman who was a provost. A provost is like an internal cop, and she's coming in and telling the place was swarming with immigration officials who should be at their jobs, which we have paid, the taxpayer is paying them for, but they're there touting, collecting documents from people outside to come and push the case. So this woman will say, if I catch you here, I'm going to charge you, get out of this office. And it was a show for we civilians. We just, what's going on here? And so that is what the minister needs to do. Find out why, immigration officers, and not just immigration officers, people in uniform and everything, are not content with their salaries, with what they get gainfully, with their allowances and all. They always want to live above their means. I think it's either the salary is not enough, or they want to live above their means, because there's no reason, and this is the reason why there's lack of trust in our uniformed personnel. You are driving in the evening, say maybe like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Just go to where you have the Wuse market, this junction. You have them there, the mosque and everything, the banking, their feet on the ground, saluting, because they want 100 naira, 50 naira. It's demeaning, and it erodes trust in the uniformed person, because if whoever is driving is a thief and is able to just give them 200 naira, it goes past. So until we have these deep institutions who believe in recruiting the right people, making sure that they're well remunerated, and these people don't, start embarrassing us. Just when you're coming from abroad, or as soon as you get to the airport, Lagos is horrible. You're coming in and they're asking you, Daddy, bless us. What did you do?
It looks like everybody has the same story to say about these people.
What's going on? And you have some of these foreign dignitaries, some of the music stars and everything, posting things on Instagram and how they bought their way out of the airport in Nigeria. You know, there was a certain rap star the other day that came and said, oh, they took all my money. You know, he was dashing them and they were, oh, give us. It doesn't speak well of our country.
Okay, all right. This is where we wrap it up for today. As we go, we have to join the live broadcast soon for, of course, the court verdict. And thank you, Kola Alapinni. Thank you so much. It's been an insightful one with you. And of course, we would like to have you one more time, maybe after the court verdict. Since you're a lawyer, of course, you'll be able to analyze it better with us. Thank you so much. Do have a good day. All right, our viewers at home, this is where we draw the curtain for the press today. Thank you for staying with us. And I remain Mercy Babajide. See you same time, same station tomorrow. Bye.